I'd like to call to order this city council meeting on September 3rd, 2015 at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers at Centennial Building, 12 South 5th Street, Yukon, Oklahoma. Would you like to do the roll call?
Alberts. Russell.
Here.
McCarron.
Here.
Smeisterla.
Here.
Yonda.
Here.
At this time, we will adjourn as the YMA and reconvene as Yukon City Council. 1A.
We still have to do 1A. Okay. I don't know where the adjourn.
That's why I switched the agendas.
Okay, here we go. I'm sorry.
Go ahead with 1A.
Okay. Consider and approve resolution number YMA 2015-05, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a Yukon Municipal Authority 2015 revenue note, the revenue note, in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $2,400,000, waiving competitive bidding and authorizing said revenue note to be sold at a price less than par value by negotiated sale within the limits provided by Title 60, Oklahoma Statute Section 176, authorizing and approving documents, procedures, and payments related to issuance of the revenue note, providing that the trust indenture shall be subject to provisions of the revenue note, ratifying a lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract between the City of Yukon and the Yukon Municipal Authority, and agreeing that the item of the lease shall extend so long as the revenue note remains outstanding and unpaid. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Call roll. Russell.
Yes.
Smeisterla.
Yes.
Yonda.
Yes.
McCarron.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we adjourn as YMA and reconvene as Yukon City Council. Number 1, consider and approve resolution number 2015-16, a resolution approving the incurrence of indebtedness by the Yukon Municipal Authority, issuing its 2015 revenue note, the revenue note, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,400,000, waiving competitive bidding and authorizing said revenue note to be sold at a price less than par value by negotiated sale within the limits provided by Title 60, Oklahoma Statute, Section 176, authorizing and approving a sales tax agreement providing security for the revenue note, providing that the trust indenture shall be subject to provisions of the revenue note, ratification of lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract between the city and the authority, and agreeing that the term of the lease shall extend to long as the revenue note remains unpaid, and authorization of documents and procedures related to issuance of the revenue note. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. Roll call, please.
Yonda.
Yes.
McCarron.
Yes.
Smeisterla.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes. Okay, number 2.
You can
Consi-
ask anyone to read this if you want to.
John, would you like to read this?
Vice Mayor, members of the council, this is ordinance number 1324, an ordinance amending section 2-137B of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Yukon, but by determining that certain obligations included in the Yukon Municipal Authority 2015 revenue note in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,400,000 do not exceed debt limitations, repealing all conflicting ordinance provisions and declaring an emergency. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, Section 1, the Code of Ordinances of the City of Yukon is hereby amended by amending the existing language of Section 2-137B, which new Section 2-137B is set out in its entirety below, to wit. B, that the following bonds and indebtednesses are conclusively determined to be within and not to exceed the limitations of Section 2-137A or any debt limitations of the Code of Ordinances or the Charter of the City, and any conflicting provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the City are modified to the extent necessary to fully validate the following. A, started to say colon, it's pretty silly. Number one, Yukon Municipal Authority Sales Tax and Utility System Revenue and Refunding Bond, Series 2012, in the aggregate principal amount of $6,500,000. Two, Yukon Municipal Authority Sales Tax and Utility System Revenue and Refunding Bonds, Series 2013, in the aggregate principal amount of $8,500,000. Three, Yukon Municipal Authority 2004 Revenue Note in the aggregate principal amount of $4,800,000. It was actually three. Four, Yukon Municipal Authority Sales Tax Revenue Note, Series 2015A, in the aggregate amount of $9,520,000. Five, Yukon Municipal Authority Sales Tax Revenue Note, Series 2015B, in the aggregate principal amount of $5,805,000. Six, Yukon Municipal Authority Revenue Note, Series 2015, in the aggregate principal amount of $2,400,000. Section 2, Repealer. All provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Yukon which are inconsistent with the foregoing are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict, it being intended that the foregoing ordinance shall supersede and modify any conflicting provisions contained in the Code of Ordinances of the City of Yukon. Section 3, Emergency. Where it is necessary for the immediate preservation of peace, health, and safety of the citizens and residents of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, that the foregoing ordinance be enacted, and the provisions of this ordinance become effective immediately, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately from and after its passage and approval as provided by law. And should this be approved, be passed and approved on September 3rd, 2015. That is your ordinance.
Thank you. All right. Number 2, consider and approve ordinance number 1324, an ordinance amending Section 2, 137B of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Yukon by determining that certain obligations, including the Yukon Municipal Authority 2015 Revenue Note, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,400,000, do not exceed debt limitations, repealing all conflicting ordinances, provisions, and declaring out emergency. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Russell,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Smystrela,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Okay. 2A, consider approving the emergency clause of ordinance number 1324. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Smystrela,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes. This meeting
With that,
is
we're adjourned.
adjourned.